Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to this broadcast of Living Wise with MS. I'm your host, Kim Freiling-Reesar. The goal of this show and every Living Wise with MS broadcast is to empower people living with MS to live the best possible lives they can. I've been living with multiple sclerosis since my diagnosis in 2003. Now I'll admit I don't know everything about MS, but I've come an awful long way in this journey. I hope through sharing with all of you that you will find your own ways of empowerment. Before I get started, and I'm probably going to say this now with every future broadcast, I think it is truly important that you find what works best for you. MS is such a variable disease, and although there are many similarities to what each individual experiences, what works for one person may not work for another. So take everything people say or comment on or say to you, including me, with perspective and a grain of salt. Try to focus on and discover what works for you and only you. I truly believe that if you concentrate on your own self, that will help you in living successfully with multiple sclerosis. Which brings us to today's topic. Unfortunately, this past month or so, not to mention this past year, has seen some rather devastating events and news items. From the brutal and senseless terrorist attacks that are occurring all over the world to innocent people, to the recent events involving the destructive and massive hurricanes that have wreaked havoc in the U.S. and abroad, as well as the enormous earthquake that rocked Mexico, to the monsoons in India. It just seems like the world, along with the weather, is in complete turmoil these days. It can really make an individual feel powerless and helpless. I truly hurt for all the people affected and want to send my utmost love and support. And because of all this negativity and this devastation that seems to be surrounding us, I'm choosing in this broadcast to focus on positivity and self-love. Sometimes I think if we all focused on being the best possible versions of ourselves, best possible people we can be individually, and we send out positive vibes and feelings of love into the universe, then it will make the world that much better of a place to live in. If we're the best possible versions of ourselves, then we can be even more powerful in helping others who may be in need. I know it can't be all sunshine and rainbows all the time, and it's not the ultimate solution, but sometimes I think if we start with ourselves, then that is a great first step. First, I'm going to talk about how staying positive is part of what it means to me to quote unquote living wise with MS. And a positive attitude is one of the many, many weapons that I have in my arsenal in this fight against multiple sclerosis. It's probably blatantly obvious that I have a positive attitude. And I always joke that I can even annoy myself sometimes with how positive I try to be. But I found that staying positive and looking for that silver lining is one of my coping mechanisms, and it's how I get through life these days. Now, I haven't always been like this, but these days and right now, I feel like I have to be like this. I have no other choice in my life but to be positive. I see being positive just like taking my disease modifying therapy, exercising, taking care of myself, going to my checkups, not only with my neurologist, but with my annual exams with my OBGYN and my eye doctor and my dentist. It's about the comprehensive picture, it's about the whole picture. And being positive is part of that entire picture. I've found that keeping that positive attitude has helped me to survive and to truly live my life with MS on a daily basis. I feel like living with MS is hard enough that I don't need to compound it by being negative. And to me, being negative is only going to zap my energy even further and take more out of me. And as we all know, maintaining and conserving energy is really key when you're living with multiple sclerosis. We need every last bit of energy to get through our days, our afternoons, and we can't afford to waste any bit of it. And I feel like if I'm negative, that will take more of the energy that is that precious energy that we so desperately need every single bit of. Now, when I say all this, believe me, I still have those days when I struggle. I've written before how I can struggle with depression and just downtime, and it's a constant struggle. And sometimes I wonder, on days like that, are my moods affecting how I'm feeling physically, or is it the other way around? So is it that I feel that way and therefore my MS is worse, or is it because I have MS that I feel bad? I mean, it's one or the other. I don't know what's the cause, but I have my days. And I know I'm human, so I can allow myself at least a day or two, but then I have to force myself. It's kind of a mind over matter kind of thing for me. And I have to fight to get back into the more positive way of thinking, the more positive keel, if you will. And I found that if I don't kind of realign myself, get back to that positive attitude, I'll just feel lousy all around, mentally as well as physically. It can be a real fight, but I choose to feel good. And I make an effort to change my perspective when I'm feeling that way. And if I don't do that, it's amazing how I start to feel my body reacting to my mindset. And I know it's not always easy to do, and it's something that I have found a way to do. And I know it's sometimes you might be like, but I'm struggling so much physically. How can I get over it mentally? But you have to at least with me, I have to find ways to kind of overcome that physical part of it. And that I find if I'm feeling good mentally, if I'm feeling positive, then everything seems to follow suit. If any of you read the book The Secret, I read this a couple years ago and I have it on my nightstand and I kind of reference it. And as I mentioned before, you have to take everything with a grain of salt, but I like its premise. I like its thought behind it. And it's about putting energy out into the universe. If you put positive energy out into the universe, you get it back. And sometimes without us realizing it, we're attracting negative energy. There's something to it. I don't completely buy into all of it, but I don't feel like we're bringing it upon ourselves. But I think we're not helping ourselves when we're negative. I feel like we can only help ourselves. We can live a better life with MS if we choose to be. I don't want to, if we choose to look on the positive side. If we choose to say, this is not going to be me. And I keep bringing up the same word empowerment, but that's what I believe in. I believe if we choose, we have a choice. We can choose to feel good or better, I should say, or find ways to kind of overcome. I know that might have some backlash because I know there's true physical pain out there that is hard to overcome. But I just feel like my a positive attitude has helped me to kind of overcome that hurdle of the pain and the when my body won't cooperate. And as I was saying, when I feel like when I give in to the negative emotions that I do feel worse physically. Um, and I can even look back on times when it was there was negativity in my life or toxic relationships that was my health really suffered. I had more relapses. I had more daily struggles with MS. Um, it was it was just life was harder all around. And in a way, it's kind of a no-brainer statement. You know, we know that stress is not good for us, and it can negatively impact our health. And I can look back and truly say, yes, that is definitely what was happening in my past, and why being positive or trying to stay positive is truly important for my health. Um, and I feel like if I maintain that positive attitude, and that everything else seems to line up, as I've mentioned before. And I feel like if I don't maintain that positive attitude, then things might snowball and things might crumble around me. Um, and as I referenced that book before, The Secret, if I'm positive, I feel like I'm attracting more positive stuff into my life. You know how when you're having a good day and you're smiling at people and you're saying hi, and it just seems like one good thing leads to another. And you know how when you're having a bad day and you're grumpy and things are not going right, then that snowballs that way too. Then it's like, my God, I had such a day that, I couldn't seem to get out of my own way. It was one thing after another. So, and sometimes I do wonder, with all that being said, with the importance of having a positive attitude, I often wonder what would happen if my health did decline dramatically. I'm in a good state right now. I have been in remission for close to 5 years since after my son was born. And so I'm in a good spot physically, and so therefore mentally. And I often wonder, what would I continue with this positive attitude? Because I know it can be hard. I do have my days, but generally on a whole, I'm doing pretty well right now. So if I maintain this, and it goes back to that question again, that mind body connection, if I maintain this positive attitude, will my body follow suit? Will it keep any kind of decline or progression at bay? I mean, that's positive thinking to the absolute. If I can stay positive, I can fight off MS. I mean, that might be a bit of denial, but I think it can only help. It can't hurt, right? It can't hurt to have that positive attitude and that bit of denial that maybe I mean, it could come back to bite me, but for now, um, that's how I'm choosing to live with it. And like I said, that's my coping mechanism. I would like to think that if my health did decline and my disability worsened, then my positive attitude would get me through that time. That I would focus on what I still could do, and I would try to do that to the best of my ability. I just don't know. It's one of those things you don't know until you're faced with it. But I can say with absolute certainty that I've been there before when I was diagnosed, and I feel like I could do it again if I had to. I know that I would get through whatever MS sent my way. I'm going to continue to do what works best for me. I'm going to continue to search for that silver lining and hold on to hope. And really, that's all any of us can do. And in a way, by thinking that way and acting that way, again, I'm going to come back to empowerment. That is our way of fighting back against MS and about taking power back over this disease that can make us feel so powerless. So, as I've said repeatedly, staying positive works for me, and I hope it's contagious. I hope it works with you. I know some days are easier than others, but I even recommend simply by just trying to smile more during the day. It has been proven that smiling is just wonderfully beneficial. It's got a great effect on the brain, and I guarantee it just makes you feel better inside and out. I found an anonymous quote that stated, "It is almost impossible to smile on the outside without feeling better on the inside." And I've really come to firmly believe that. Even if you're having a miserable day, if you just try to smile, you'll start to feel better. And as I've said before, I have my days and I know life can be hard, and you add a chronic illness to the mix and life sometimes can seem even harder. Life is a constant state of motion all around us. There are daily struggles, there are struggles with family, relationships, and then you have this chronic illness that you need to deal with constantly. And I know, like I said before, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You can't constantly have that positive attitude, but when I have those down days, when I'm in a fog and I let things build and compound one on top of another, and it just is overwhelming, I try to, as I said before, I'll let myself have a day or two, but then I really need to get myself back on a positive, even keel. It's kind of, there's a lot of self-talk. Um, there's a lot of work in getting myself back to that positive attitude. So when that happens, there's strategies you can do. You've heard about all these strategies. You, to stay positive, I try to make sure that I'm sending out those positive energies so that I'm receiving them back. Even such a simple thing as on my daily walk or run, I see people and smile and say hi, good morning, and then to get it back, or to see someone who, oh, I like your hat, and them to kind of light up and be like, oh, thank you, I appreciate that so much, and then you kind of feel good, and it's again that snowball effect that hopefully, if you're spreading love and spreading positivity, that it will come back to you. Kind of the whole karma thing. I also, during these periods where I'm kind of fighting to get back up, um, I have to remind myself that I can't control everything. I have to focus on me and what I can control, and I can't let what other people say or do affect that attitude. I can't control them, but I can control me. I can control how I handle things. And if I'm doing my best, what else can I ask for? What that is all any of us can do, is just to do the best that we can do. Let those things that are out of our control, there's nothing we can do about it. We can't stress about it. All we can do is control how we react to it, how we move forward. Also, during this time, I do try to give myself a break. As I said before, I'm human. I'm allowed to have my down days. I'm allowed to feel this way. And obviously, not as an excuse, but we have that extra struggle of MS that sometimes clouds things and makes things even more difficult for us. So I give myself a break. Kim, you're doing everything you can do and more so with that thing that is very debilitating. Um, so I give myself a break. I don't have the cleanest house in the world. I wish I did, but I have to let that part go because I can't do it all. I've got two happy, healthy boys who have extracurricular activities that need to be shuttled here, there, and everywhere. And keeping a immaculate house has to go. I can't do it all. I mean, my house is tidy. I don't want to say it's a complete slobby mess, but I can't get hyper focused on that because it's just not all going to get done. So in that way, I give myself a break. It's not all going to get done, and that's okay because it'll be waiting there for me. Um, and I've talked before, it's really important that you're okay. Um, if I'm feeling negative, I'm feeling down, I try to take a moment for me, something that I enjoy doing to give myself some of that self love because I truly think it's important that we're okay, that we take care of ourselves and be the best version of ourselves so that we can help others. So I try to take, when I'm getting kind of frantic and low, I try to take a moment for me. And whether it be just kind of putting aside everything and just making myself a cup of tea and sitting down and just enjoying that cup of tea just for a little mindfulness, a little downtime, or if it's going for a walk, which I found extremely therapeutic, especially when you're out in nature, enjoying just the sounds, the smells. Um, it's amazing how connected you feel and how good you feel after a nice walk, especially if you do one with a friend. I always joke that with my one girlfriend, I owe her many a copay because we have figured out all of life's mysteries on these walks. Um, but that's truly relaxing, and it's definitely something that kind of realigns myself and recenters myself. I've also discovered running, which I found is very therapeutic for me because I can really get into my head on these runs and kind of work through things, and not to mention, that endorphin rush or that runner's high that helps to kind of elevate my mood again and relieve some of that stress and anxiety that I might have been feeling. I think it's important that you find that me time and find things that you enjoy to get yourself elevated again, to raise up that mood. Um, Other ways to stay positive um, is to listen to music. Music can be very therapeutic. Anything that you enjoy, basically, is are ways to get you out of that doldrum and to stay positive. But I truly believe that if you stay positive, everything else seems to line up, and it can only help in the end. As I said earlier, I feel like being negative kind of drains us more of our energy and our power, and it doesn't make anyone feel good. And it kind of spreads and festers, and it can get in the way of a lot of stuff, including our health. So I just want to remind you just to stay positive. Stress can really exhaust the brain, and being positive is my way of living well with MS and living wise with MS. If you can, I'm sure there's tons of other ways, yoga, meditation. Um, as I said before, exercise is very positive way of raising that endorphin level and dealing with stress and anxiety. Also being social and being out with friends and laughing, enjoying life. Um, there's nothing better than having a good friend that you can share stuff with, um, and to laugh with. I mean, laughing is just, it's been proven that laughing makes you feel good, and it lowers the stress hormone. So I just hope that this broadcast spread some positivity with just sharing with my thoughts on staying positive and how that helps me in my fight against MS. And I hope all of you, despite all the horrible news that has been happening lately, that you try to focus on yourselves and your family, try to be the best versions that you can be so that you can help others. Because I truly believe we have to be good with ourselves so that we can help others. So I'm going to keep smiling, and I hope that you're smiling. In fact, I'm smiling right now, and I hope, if you can smile on the other end, that would just be the start of something good. Um, so again, please join me on future broadcasts. I'm going to be discussing other ways to live wise with MS, which encompasses so many, many different parts of the whole. It's about the big picture. It's about being smart about it. It's about being educated. And as we talked about today, it's about having kind of the right mental positive attitude. Please, if you have any questions or if you have any comments, nothing negative, please. I would love to hear from you. You can email me at editor@livewisems.org. You can also find me on the International Organization of MS Nurses new patient and caregiver resource site, which I'm really excited to be a part of. It's called livewisems.org, and it features clinical content that we take and we put patient summaries on so you can get exactly what information you need to know and why you need to know it. And the great thing about this is that this article content or textbook content is the material that your healthcare providers are reading. So what better way to empower yourself and is to read the content that they're reading so you can educate yourself. You can go into your appointments and understand and talk with them about, hey, I read this and I understand this, and let's have more of that shared decision making in the treatment of my MS. So I think you should definitely check out LiveWise MS and see um, if you can educate yourself a little bit more about the disease and see what your healthcare providers are reading. So I write some of the blog pieces on there, and I also manage their social media accounts. So you can find LiveWise MS on Facebook, on Twitter, Google Plus, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I highly encourage you to touch base with me. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to, if you have a question, address it in future broadcasts. And again, my email address is editor@livewisems.org. I'm really excited about and would like to thank MS&Me Radio and the whole MS Coalition. It's just an exciting, exciting time to be sharing all these MS voices with the MS community. And I really believe we are stronger together and we can really find ways to overcome MS. So until next time, I hope all of you stay well and we'll talk soon. Thank you.